Are you ready for a shift? Are you ready for real change? Well, if so, it's time for the Ready to Live show with your hosts, Dr. John E. Guns and success coach A.D. Roberts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the that remind me
I'm trying to create like a theme song to it though.
Okay, you know what that remind me of? That like remember Pigs in Space? But pig okay. I'm dating myself.
And why is it that whenever we begin we have to start out with something really stupid and
because that's who we are.
Well, that's who you are.
It would this would not be an authentic talk.
You're right.
If we didn't play.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Well, let's jump on in, Doc.
Wait a minute, hold on. Ready to... Okay. All right, I'm just working on branding purposes. You got to brand it.
That's fine.
Got to brand it.
Please subscribe. Right now. Because we're on YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Glad to be with you.
And I'm messing with my eye.
Right. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, on Apple, welcome. Make sure that you favorite us, follow us on all those platforms. And on YouTube, subscribe. All right. We're ready now.
Yes.
You said remote.
Wow. This has been like 10 weeks, something like that.
10 weeks.
Something like that.
But I think people are doing well.
I think people are doing fairly well. I do too.
Given,
everything's reopening now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, man, it feels good to actually be able to ride down the street and see other cars and, other people and not be
I haven't missed traffic.
Well, you do live in that part of town where traffic is not fun, so I get it.
Yeah, well, not even that. I just haven't missed traffic.
Okay.
I like being able to just ride down empty streets.
Well, let's ride down this empty street of this this podcast.
I mean, I need to. I can't share my heart. I mean, I have to.
You're doing a great job.
That's fine. Okay. Let's keep going.
Yes, sir.
Reinvention.
What a better time to do it?
I know, right?
Yeah. If you're thinking about, we've been talking for weeks about this COVID season and how it's affecting everybody, and many people are holding on to the past. That's one of the things that's causing their frustration.
Tough.
That's what's causing their frustration. Anytime you're holding on to a season that is outside of the present moment, it creates this tension in your physical, spiritual, and mental bodies. And it's just going to tug, and that's going to create this thing called stress. But if you can stay present and reinvent moving forward, that puts you in a whole nother place. So I think that's a great place for us to start, my friend.
Yeah. Well, so to you, what is reinvention?
I think I am the master of self-reinvention.
You think?
Yeah. Once upon a time, my life was filled with numbers, ones and zeros, and real estate. All I did was finance and investments and all that stuff. And now it's to, motivate and empower and, do this stuff for people and having this kind of production thing going on. So I think
and those are two very different worlds.
Very different worlds. Yeah. That when you say reinvention, I think all of us, we reach a place in our lives where we have to ask ourselves, is this it? Is this it for me?
That's a big question.
Is this the best that I can do? Is this the best life for me? And when you really, really get quiet into yourself and seek that answer, many times it's not. Because early on in life, we are following other people's instructions. Our parents, they have wishes for us. Some, they want us to be doctors, lawyers, professional athletes, whatever. But they have these pictures that they imprint on us, and we do our best to try to try to
live up to them.
To live up to it. But what happens, I believe, is that once we get to a certain place in our lives, we get a little bit older, we've hit our head a few times, and we realize that we're just not happy. Or we get thrust into a situation where we really have to be faced with our authenticity.
Or what we perceive to be authenticity.
Right.
Or our emerging consciousness of what our authenticity is.
Because, and here's a big point, life is dynamic.
It is.
It's not, and see, that's this thing that we have, that
the fluidity of life.
Right. We want everything to be lined up for us. Sure. We want everything to be normal and status quo. But I'm sorry, that is not life. You keep living, you're gonna hit all kinds of, and y'all know what you know what we're talking about. You're gonna hit obstacles. You're gonna hit seasons like this. Where nobody is the expert anymore, and this is kind of like this is like the wild west.
Whew, Jesus.
Manage as you go. And so in this season, this is a good time for reinventing, looking at yourself, looking at your life and saying, am I happy? Is this what I really want? Or my numbers just don't make sense anymore as far as my bank account is concerned in this season. So what else is out there for me? And you have to reinvent.
It's interesting listening to you. I think one of the challenges, AD, is when I think of reinvention, I think of a cataclysmic reconstruction of the way you interpret life and the way you and how you invest your energy in the life that you are interpreting. That if somehow I interpret life through the lens of an employee, then I'm going to invest my energy in looking for a job. If I interpret my life through the lens of an employer, then I'm going to be looking for the opportunity to build a business. If I see myself as a loner, then I'm not going to add or increase or improve relationships. But if I see myself as relational and I understand that relationships are how I accomplish the purposes of my life, I'm going to be open to what possibilities are out there. I think that for many of us, the challenge is we're not clear in terms of what it is we're supposed to be reinventing into. So we're just kind of throwing a whole bunch of mud against the wall, hoping something sticks, instead of trusting the process.
Absolutely right. I think and as a success coach, what I run into many times with people is that they are, as they are trying to develop who they are becoming.
Wow.
As they're in the process of it, what winds up happening is they have competing voices.
Wow. Yes.
And those competing voices are constantly articulating themselves, constantly doing that. So you hear your mother, you hear your father, you hear your spouse, you hear your mentor, then you have your own voice, and all of these voices are speaking in your head, and it's hard to have clarity to choose what direction to go in. And that's just the tough part.
Yeah, and so as I look at reinvention, just kind of building on that, while those voices are speaking, there are experiences that are driving you in the direction of new opportunities and possibilities. I mean, I give you a perfect example. This season has created so many opportunities for me to engage in these conversations on a more public forum.
Wow.
On a public forum. So now these conversations that I'm having are stretching me and forcing me to think, rethink, to reconstruct, to be open to the other things that God is trying to do.
You said something, and it could, if you look at it, especially if you're struggling, I believe that there are two types of change or reinvention. One that is spurred by growth, the other one that is spurred by transformation. See, and the difference is one is the difference between the process of a rose and the process of a diamond. See, a diamond becomes a diamond because of outside pressure pushing it and making it change and transform into something else. Whereas growth, like a rose, it comes from a seed, and then it's just nurtured and matured. And sometimes there's this amalgamation of the two of them.
Sure.
So when you look at your life and you can see where you are, and you can acknowledge the reality that those are the two things that are going to push you into this new you, or this self reinvention. Where are you going to fall? What are you going to do? And are you quiet enough to listen to those voices that really have your heart and interest?
You wanna know what's really crazy? Oh man, I'm sitting here about to explode, and here's why. Because I think that this idea of reinvention is really about God or whatever force of authority that you ascribe to. But for me, God positioning the pieces to the puzzle of your life so that you can finally see the whole picture.
Yeah.
It's about God just kind of assembling your life until you can see the whole picture. And you having the courage to face the possibilities that the life you've been living is no longer the life that you should invest in.
Or even worse, that the life that you've been living was a lie to begin with.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
No, but real talk.
I'm saying I wouldn't go that far, because I think if somebody goes that far, unless they got good medication, they might because you're right. Because when you discover that you've not been true to yourself, and you've tried to fit your life in to everybody else's boxes, and you tried to make everybody else okay.
Everybody, you're gonna face it, because people are going to try to put you into their box so that they can be comfortable. It's not about you. It's about them being comfortable. And when you being the subject, when you can say, you know what, it's okay. Mm-hmm. You have those expectations of me. I'm not mad at you for having them. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when you are taking that last breath, you are not going to be concerned with what you did. You're going to be more concerned with what you didn't do.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny, because I think, as those of you who are listening to us, as we're kind of having this conversation, I think a couple of things become true. The first thing is that reinvention is a process. Mm-hmm. So if you're not a process person, or not patient enough to walk through that,
now you opened up a whole nother door.
Yeah.
Because we'll
deal with that next time.
Right, because here comes the process theology.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know it was coming, all right.
I did. Because you are a process theologian
all day.
Yeah.
And so if you don't understand the power of process, and maybe we'll deal with that next week. If you don't understand the power of process, then this whole thing is going to mess you up. But I think the other thing is being a student of the experiences of your life that are trying to force you into change while you're rebelling against the opportunity or the revelation that's embedded in an opportunity.
Listen, what you all know that Dr. Gunn is one of my absolute best friends in the world. So I have heard him in many preaching situations. Many. But one of my favorites is when you do the piece from the pit to the prison to the palace. Yeah. And don't forget Potiphar's house.
Right.
And when you talk about that, is the embodiment of process.
Absolutely.
And you talk about circumstances shaping your destiny.
And
because see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's opening up. Here's the thing. And I know we're close to our time. When it is time for you to walk into this new season, God will take advantage of all types of situations and actually orchestrate some things that may not be so comfortable. But irrespective of what your perspective is, God has his perspective, and he knows your heart. And to get you to the place that you really, really say you want to be, sometimes you have to go through a season where it's very uncomfortable. This right here this season did something very amazing. It showed us who was strong, who was inventive, who was ready to step up to the plate and perform. Like, I gotta commend you. What you have done at St. Paul, what you and the whole staff at St. Paul have done to adjust in this time has been nothing but, nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
You guys are probably, the church is more busy now than it has ever been without this pandemic.
And just as a closing note, we'll come back next week and kind of pick up this whole thing of process. I think we kind of hit it on our way out the door today. Is that I think the biggest challenge for everyone listening to us is going to be to have the courage to fight through the maze of uncertainty, to find that place of clarity, and then to live out the purpose.
Absolutely.
Or to trust the process by which the purpose requires.
One of the things one of our favorite authors would always say, Dr. Wayne Dyer, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so this is a time for you to start changing the way you look at things and prepare yourself for reinvention.
Absolutely. Listen, guys, thank you all for listening to Ready to Live. I am John Guns, and you are
A to the D Roberts.
A to the D Roberts.
We will see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you favorite us. Love you guys. We're out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You've been listening to the Ready to Live show. If you'd like to connect with Dr. Guns, visit him at bishopjohnguns.info. To connect with AD, go on over to brilliantliving.net. Have a wonderful